Good morning, everyone. This is a regular meeting of the Third Laguna Hills Mutual Board of Directors, a California nonprofit mutual benefit corporation. Today is Tuesday, September 21st, 2021, 9:30 a.m., and we're in the Community Center boardroom, and this is being televised live, and we have our board members here, so I'd like to call the meeting to order. This time, we have a quorum. And at this time, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance by Director Wayne, who will be leading us.
Okay, would everybody please stand, face the flag, and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all.
Before we go forward, if you would turn off your electronic devices, please. And we'll acknowledge the media at a distance. And item 4, approval of the agenda. Do I hear a motion for the agenda?
I'll make the motion to approve the agenda.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, a little discussion. We need to look at item 13C. We actually have 2 items here. If you look at the staff summary sheet on page 1 of 14, item 13C, item 1 will be C2, and item 2 will be C1. And Director Jarrett will take us through that at that time and explain the difference. Are there any other corrections, additions that need to be made? Director Michelet, did you want to talk about that one change that's coming down?
On
The fees?
well, that's a 13B.
Okay. We have a change on 13B we'll be telling you about when we get to it. Okay, any other changes? If not, unless there's anyone disagrees, we'll go ahead and approve the agenda by consensus. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of August 6th and August 17th, 2021?
I'll make the motion to approve the August 6 and 17 agenda prep and regular board meeting.
Okay, are we voting by computer, Grant, or?
We can, yes.
Okay, we'll just
One
do
moment.
this one. Is there a second to item 5?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion on these 2 items? Okay, if not, we'll approve them by consensus. And item 6, report of the chair. Just want to remind everybody that we have our election that's in process. We have 3 seats available for the 3rd Board of Directors, term ending 2024, and they'll be seated at the annual election. The new board members will be seated at the annual member meeting to be held on Thursday, October 7th, 2021 at 9:30 a.m. Just as a reminder, ballots are due back to Unilect Inspector of Elections by Thursday, September 30th, 2021 at 11 a.m. Residents can drop off their ballot in the ballot box located in the Community Center lobby until Thursday, September 30th, 2021 at 5 p.m. The ballots will be counted at the special 3rd Board of Directors tabulation meeting on Friday, October 1st, 2021 at 1:30 p.m. If you need a ballot because of something that was lost or damaged, here's a phone number for you to call. It's a Unilect Inspector of Elections for a duplicate request. It's 1-866-466-6455. And this is available 24/7 throughout the balloting period. If you have questions regarding the election, you can contact Catherine Burkhart, who's our Inspector of Elections, at 1-888-864-5328. Or another way of saying it is 1-888-UNILECT, UNILECT. So I hope that gives you directions if you need help. So if you need additional information, go ahead and call the GM's office and you'll be given assistance through that.
Mr.
Okay.
President, The ballot box is in front, at the front desk,
Front.
not at the front door outside, not inside the lobby.
Correct, and don't get it
Yeah.
confused with the mailbox.
Yeah,
out
exactly. There are 3 boxes there.
There's a garbage box next to it.
there. Yes, drop-in box next to it. Okay, we'll go on to item 7, update from the VMS board, please. Wei Ming Tao, I think, is going to give it this morning.
You got the presentation?
Is the mic
Good
on?
morning. Does it work? Okay. Haven't seen you guys for a while in person. Okay, update from VMS board. Next page, please. Role of VMS board of directors. As you know, the Village Management Service Inc. VMS organization was formed, manage, and operate Legoland Village on behalf of 3 member owners: Third Mutual, United Mutual, and GIF. VMS, a not-for-profit company incorporated, can you flip to the next page, please? Incorporated in 2015. It's a self-governing organization that starts with each board appointing representatives from their respective organization to serve as the VMS Board of Directors. Article 4 of the bylaw of VMS specifies the powers and duties of the Board of Directors, which includes providing oversight to the CEO and to ensure the CEO effectively and efficiently implement the policies established by GRF Third and the United. VMS board members serve as a communication links with their appointed boards of directors, conveying operational information through direction of the CEO. VMS is similar to a joint venture, and there are many added challenges of a JV. Statistically, CEO and management team member of a JV spend 30% to 35% of their time responding to owner-related matters, rather than operating the JV. I feel for VMS, this percentage is probably even higher. This cascaded into deep frustration across the management team, undermining productivity and professional satisfaction, increasing turnover and making it harder to recruit new talent. So I have some suggestions. I suggest we need to have a governance system that works. A high-performing JV board must do the same thing as a corporate board. In other words, monitor operating performance, ensure that a high-performing top team is in place, and manage risks. And VMS board must do even more, including clarify what the owners want from VMS and resolve owner conflicts. This is not easy to achieve. However, owner companies need to go through their representative directors for the involvement of governing VMS and VMS directors, and owners company not to individually instruct the CEO or management team as if they were a direct subordinate. We need to govern VMS through the board. The CEO reports solely to the board collectively. We will hold the CEO accountable for the operation and empower CEO with operational and people-related authorities consistent with the company of its performance. That's for the role of VMS board. Next page, please. Now, the highlights of recent VMS activities, operations. VMS employees participated in the half-day interactive training curriculum between June 21st and 30th at the Clubhouse 5. There has been one additional session so far for employees unable to attend the earlier section. The training is expected to be a regular component of the ongoing training program. So the training overview. The first one is respect. Let me get mine. RESPECT. Find out what it means to all of us. Tools to increase empathy for people from different backgrounds so that everyone involved in our interactions feels respected. HR Director Carrie Weldon and IHG Consulting Principal Beverly Bevel designed customized curriculum with Laguna Woods Village residents in mind. Next page, please. Course expounded on amygdala, part of brain involved in experiencing emotions and how it is impacted by aging. Gerontology process, cognitive hurdles, emotional challenges, and social adjustment that it entails. Communicating with empathy, taking on another person's perspective, identifying dominant communication style, listening, and finding common ground. Cultural represented in Laguna Woods, and how they shape values, impact behavior, and affect communication. Next page, please. No, the one before. The course, next one. Yeah, next one. The training, sorry. The training participation. There were a total of 225 people participated in this training, and 12 from CEO office, communication service, and media, 4 from finance, 5 from general services, 4 from human resources, 6 from maintenance and construction, 45 from recreation and special events, 19 from resident services, and 120 from security. Next page, please. Testimonial highlights how we can gain greater awareness of cross-cultural communication nuances and better understanding how our words, tone, action, gestures, and body language can help cultivate positive, cooperative relationships with diverse people and groups. Elise Rosrock, Supervisor Media and Communication Department. Next, helps staff be more sensitive and accepting of resident and coworker diversity. Employees need to consider underlying issues others may have before they walk through the door. We need to put ourselves in their shoes. Cultural awareness help us break down barriers and build bridges. By educating staff and correcting reaction, we can work cohesively to provide superior customer service to village residents. Jennifer Murphy, Recreation Manager, Recreation and Special Event Department. Next one is from Stacy Griffith. Brought greater awareness to the culture, age-related and gender-related diversity we face daily, as well as how we can gain greater self-control and awareness, providing the tool to respond with greater understanding and empathy. Customer Service Manager, Resident, and Broadband Services. Next page. And now, since 2020, the monthly VMS department head presentation has been focused on the improvement event, focusing more on systematic improvement opportunity. So this month is general service, so we only gonna focus on the enhancement and the improvement activity. So on the revenue enhancement, there were total $99,800 revenue increase. The activity were $30,000 from Arizona Pipeline, $24,000 from H-Well Parking, $10,800 from H-Well Fill, and $35,000 from Memorial Care Sponsorship for Awareness Bus. Next, please. And the operation efficiency and cost savings for the department. Next. The operational efficiency on the transportation, eliminate Route 3, that's the lowest ridership. Incorporate into other routes, C1, C2, and Route 5. Annual savings approximately of $70,000. Next, please. Operational efficiency, amended obsolete equipment policy, enhances operational efficiency and provides increased revenue potential from sale of obsolete vehicle and equipment. Key provision, utilize a private auction company for the disposal of sale of obsolete vehicle and equipment. An industry best practice as efficient method to sell all equipment in fair, consistent manner. This will reduce staff hours and expedite revenue collection. That's all I have today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for VMS from the board? Okay, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Okay, this time we'll go to the open forum, which is 3 minutes per speaker. At this time, members only may address the Board of Directors regarding items not on the agenda and within the jurisdiction of this Board of Directors. The board reserves the right to limit the total time allotted for the open forum to 30 minutes. A member may speak only once during the forum. Speakers may not give their time to other people. No audio or video recording by the attendees, and no rude or threatening comments. Members can attend the meeting by joining the Zoom link, zoom.us/J/948-998-06730, or call 1-669-900-6833, or email meeting@vmsinc.org to have your message read during the open forum. Okay, at this time,
Excuse me,
we'll go ahead.
President Parsons, I
Yes.
just want a point of clarification. I believe you said 30 minutes for speaking? I'm
30,
sorry.
the open time for the, or the total time for the open forum can be limited to 30 minutes.
Oh, okay. Thank
Okay, we'll go ahead with the open forum at this time. You have any speakers, please?
The first speaker is Jules Zellon, 3124A.
I object to this board's running the candidates forum because there's such a clear conflict of interest. You desperately want two of your own to be reelected, so badly that your president, Steve Parsons, went on television as president and campaigned for their reelection, compromising the independence and the integrity of the process. That's illegal. Davis Sterling prohibits a board from advocating on an election issue. And who's running is the quintessential election issue. Yet, despite my numerous objections, both TV6 and VMS remain silent. You think Steve's relationship with VMS could have anything to do with that silence? I'd answer it this way. Does a dog have fleas? Come on, you guys elect the VMS board. I'm just a New York lawyer, but I know how to read a legal opinion, and the legal opinion that's controlling is Wittenberg, which ruled that a violation less extreme than Steve's was sufficient to void an entire HOA election. So Steve just put at serious risk our entire election process, which I understand costs 50 grand. But don't think his peccadillo was the result of ignorance of our election laws, because he did the same thing last October by illegally electioneering on behalf of the CC&R's rewrite. Thankfully, it didn't pass, but if it had, it would have been voided by a court. Where's he getting his legal advice from? These lunk-headed attempts to influence elections raise the possibility that you people will try to do it again. In fact, how do we know he didn't feed the questions in the first forum to the incumbents so they could turn up like Lynn Jarrett did, armed with all these documents, ready to answer a question? I don't know if that happened. But the mere fact that it could happen is the reason why reasonable, honorable people recuse themselves when just that possibility exists. The idea that the board controls the questioning while the campaigning for its favored candidates smells to high heaven. So I urge the board to recuse yourselves and turn over the next candidates forum to a clearly impartial entity, one that you cannot control or even influence. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
The next speaker is Lorraine Carden, 2225A.
Good morning. We pronounce our name Lorraine Cardine. Okay, thank you. I have two questions to bring up. The first one is the paint. I was never notified about the paint. I closed on the sale of my, I bought my place at the end of July, and I never received a letter. But we haven't moved in yet because my daughter, Catherine, who's back here, has not been accepted by the board. So then that's what I'm promoting today, is that she be accepted by the board, okay? And the other thing is on the paint. She would like boutique beige, and instead they said they're going to paint it gray, and we never had a vote on it. And they're saying that, I don't know if another person in the complex had voted on or what, but anyway, that's what I'm asking the board, if it could be painted boutique beige. And that's on 2225 Via Puerta, and it's Unit A. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
The next speaker is Elizabeth Hoyt, 5395A.
Good morning.
Morning.
I want to say thank you to all of you board members. Where I lived in my last place, I served 25 years, so I know what you guys put up with. However, I live in Mutual 3, and they've decided to mow our lawns only twice a month in the common areas. These long, hot days, the end of summer, the grass grows like crazy. So I don't know what we saved money on, because the gardeners are still here every single day. They're just not mowing the lawns every other week. I think you need to consider how many people this affects. I went over to the golf course and said, how often do they mow the lawn here? And they said, every week. And I thought, well, that only affects a few people. The common areas affect everyone. And you need to, when you make these decisions to cut back on services, how many people they affect. 2 weeks ago, I paid my personal gardener to mow the lawn in front of my house because it was so long that if you walked in it, you'd probably turn your ankle. I don't think that I should have to pay twice, once in my association dues and once to my personal gardener. So that's basically what I'm here to say is, don't take services away that are in the annual budget that we get once a year. Just because you need to jiggle some money, that's what contingency funds are for. So I don't think I'll get an answer here, but when I called the other day to ask on the phone, the young lady said, lots of huffing. I'll have to call gardening. She comes back and she says, it's every 9 days. So there's a different answer to every 2 weeks. When I talked to the head gardeners, or one of the guys in the white shirts, he said, it's every 2 weeks. So then she says, you'll have to go before the board. And when I said, which board? Via Mass Mutual 3 or gardening? She hung up on me. So I don't pay my dues to support people that are rude on the phone. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Mow the lawn.
Do we have another speaker?
I wasn't sure if I know that there was some other interest, but I will go on to see if there is any email comments.
Good morning. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
We have one email comment from Jay Lacey, who lives at 3024D, and he writes, Dear Board, I am a third member, work as an HOA manager, and founded Concern, which is a group of members who care about the architectural integrity of our buildings. My comment relates to Agenda Item 13C about termites. Why is a termite company not inspecting our buildings for termites and rot on a regular basis? Most HOAs have an annual inspection of the common areas. You should want to catch any termite infestation or rot early and treat it locally for a couple $100 rather than waiting for termites to get so bad that you have no choice but to tent at a cost of thousands of dollars. Also, when rot is not caught early, it costs a lot more to deal with and can pose structural hazards. Last, I heard Third spent $3 million on rot repairs in 1 year alone. This would not have been needed had regular inspections been done. Early intervention is best, whether it be in your personal health or the health of our buildings. There are rumors that the termite company you contract with prefers to skip the routine inspections because they can make more money selling us the big fumigation jobs where they bring in the tents. Please do what other HOAs do, schedule routine termite and rot inspections. Most termite companies do inspections for free. Please explain to the members why Third Mutual does not do routine termite and rot inspections, and who thought it was a good idea to ignore these inspections. Was it management or a board? Thank you. And that concludes the emailed comments for today.
All right, I see no further speakers. That concludes open forum.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll go ahead and open for the board members to respond to candidates. Jules had mentioned first. He talked about how we handle the candidates forum, which has always been done that way. And we did open it up, and we did a process for candidates to pick different questions at random. It was not pre-selected. Neither did candidates have the questions ahead. So I think, Jules, in a lot of cases, all you're doing is casting doubt. So I don't appreciate that. I don't think the board members do either. So I'll open it up to other board members. Anybody else have a comment? Okay, Lynn and then Reza.
Jules, I do want to say that the night before the candidates forum, I talked to Annie McCary here on the board. And in so talking to her, I just kind of mentioned I'm bringing props for tomorrow. She said, props? You can't bring props. And I said, well, I'm bringing props. I'm not. And she said, well, we can't take slides. I said, no, it's not slides. I said, I'm going to surprise you. So that's exactly what I did. No one knew I was bringing those books. So I just wanted to let you know that. Thank you.
Okay, Reza.
Mr. Jules, I took your comment very personal.
Is your mic on?
I took your comment very personal, and that's why, for the first time, I'm responding to your comments. For 30 years, I served my country with honesty, integrity, and accomplishment. And I have been recognized at all levels of governments for that, up to the White House. And when you say that for this position, I'm dishonest, or I did something that behind the scene, that's very awful and hurting. And I hope you take that back, because I think you're wrong. And please, next time that you want to accuse someone of something, be honest yourself. And I think that would help you to make a better comments for this board. I appreciate that you do that in the future. But this time, I took your comment very personal. And I'm very hurt that you tell the community for this position, after 30 years of being honest and accomplished many things, that you're telling me that I did something wrong and dishonest. And that's hurting. And sir, please think when you open your mouth next time. That's not honest. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, going on to Lorraine Cardine about her paint situation. Lorraine, I want you to know that there are color palettes that are approved by the board. I don't see her here, but there are several different schemes, if you want to call it that, for palettes. And so people, if they are contacted enough in advance, they have an opportunity to vote on what color they want their place to be painted. So other than that, Jeff or Siobhan, would you like to respond to that?
Also available at Resident Services, those palettes that you just mentioned. So if she wants to go over to Resident Services, she can see those palettes that you just suggested.
Okay, that's the big board, right?
Right.
Okay, Resident Services.
Steve?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Can I make a comment about it?
And then
I think
Chris will follow you.
the new member needs to understand that the decisions about paint and the paint color are not an individual manor decision necessarily. If they live in a unit or a manor that is connected to other manors, then it is a group decision by those manors. So if she is in Unit A, as she indicated, that suggests to me there's at least Unit B at a minimum, and maybe even more units than that. And so it's typically a group decision, and if there can't be an agreement by the people who live in that set of manors, then there is a fallback painting of white. That is the color that they go with. So we could not accommodate her individual request for a color. It's a group decision by the number of manors.
Okay, Kush?
Well, I was going to say the same thing. Thank you, Robert, for saying all those things, which is what the situation is. But from what I understand, she said she hasn't moved in yet. That means this decision was made long back, and she missed the opportunity to vote for the color she wanted. So sorry about that. Thanks.
Okay, any other comments?
Yeah, there was
Okay,
one
Rob.
other issue she raised, the issue of acceptance of her daughter as a resident, and she said that's why she hasn't moved in. That's an issue that is not directly addressed by this board. Jeff, would you address how people are approved for membership?
So the application process for whether it's United or Third, or the process that goes through our operation here with regards to our resident applications, and then it goes up for final approval by board members and then signed off by that. So we can get a status report. I don't know, we'll get a status report of where her application is and get an answer back to her.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. We'll go ahead to Elizabeth Hoyt, dealing with Mutual 3 and grass cutting. Lynn?
I'm sorry, Elizabeth, I didn't get your manor number.
5395A.
And what gate are you in?
I usually come in gate 10.
Oh, you're in gate 10, not 11.
No.
Well, the beginning of the month of September, we went from a 7-day mowing to a 9-day. And this is what we do every year. So I don't know how you could have gone, for 2 weeks. I know in gate 11 there was a problem over there because when they went to the 9-day schedule, it was on a Wednesday. It would have been on a Wednesday if they would have stuck to the 9 days. And I got several calls in gardening or landscape calls that said, it's not good to come on Wednesday because of the trash cans are out there. But it is a 9-day schedule, and that's what they do every year. So I'm sorry that if they missed you 1 week or something, it sounds like that might have been what happened this month.
Well, part of it is there used to be a huge tree in front of my house. So the grass never grew under the tree. They took the tree out, and half the lawn grows like crazy, and the other half's dead because there's no sprinklers over there. But we're working on that.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to get some consistency because there's only 8 houses on my cul-de-sac, and everybody's complaining.
What cul-de-sac number is that, please?
359.
Okay. I'll look into that. Thank you.
And also, if you have other concerns, bring them to the Landscape Committee meeting.
Okay, that's why I said I didn't know which board to go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. And as far as taking away services, there is a schedule of how often they do this, and that is partially determined by the budget, so we can help keep costs down, and it's seasonal. Okay, so in the winter, they don't do grass cutting as much because then they start doing flower beds. So Jeff, did you want to answer?
No, that's exactly right. And I was just going to reiterate what Lynn said, that we went from the 7 to the 9. That's the process that we do in the fall when we see the change of seasons going. So we'll go back and check with Lynn and Kurt and everybody to make sure that we didn't miss something here. But that the mowing schedule is 9 days.
Okay, any comments to Elizabeth? Okay, Kush?
There's a possibility that the mowing cycle got entangled with Labor Day or some national holiday, and it was a day off for the staff, and that may have caused the delay. So just bear with this cycle to get into the groove of things, it might just straighten itself out.
Let's see, 3 lawn mowings ago, it was on a Monday. Because of that holiday, it was 2 weeks plus a day later, and this time it was 1 day short of 2 weeks. So,
But
Okay, we'll look into that.
we'll
and,
look into it and
get
make
back to
sure.
you.
Can I add one more thing?
Go ahead.
We went to the 9-day cycle of mowing, 9 days, to give us more time to trim. And it seems like that works out for us every year. Thank you.
Yes, Siobhan.
I have an update on the paint selection for building 2225. It took place on June 28th, and the escrow for unit 2225A closed on July 30th. So it was a timing issue as to why she couldn't weigh in on the paint color.
Okay. Thanks for checking. Okay, on to Jay Lacy. He talked about termites and inspections and treatment. Any comments to him? Okay, go ahead, Jeff.
So we have there's two different elements I wanted to mention. Our dry rot inspection and repairs. This is our prior to paint program. So in our prior to paint program, which I know the board's well aware of for residents, before we get into the paint cycles, we have what is called a prior to paint program, where we go through and inspect and make sure that any dry rot process, it needs to be repaired or removed or replaced, that we do that. So that's on an ongoing annual basis, part of our paint program in all reality, but it's what we call prior to paint. With regards to termites, our termite program provides funding for local treatment as well as the tenting of big treatment. And that local treatment is case-by-case basis as required and based on the analysis. That program relies on members to notify us if they see any kind of droppings or anything related to what they think might be a termite. Then we send out our termite contract people to go out and take a look at it and treat it as necessary. So we do rely on our members to let us know if they've seen something.
Okay. Any other comments on Jay's? Okay. As far as early intervention, as I understand it, there are inspections that take place, and that's what drives the treatment. At least that's what I was told in my unit. And 2 years ago, mine was tented for that very reason. There is a schedule that's made up on that, and the budget does accommodate these fumigations. So if you have any other questions, just let us know, but know that there are routine inspections, and that's what drives the schedule. Okay. That concludes the open session, open forum. We'll go ahead to the CEO and COO reports, please.
Good morning, everybody, and President Parsons, and to the board and residents. I have a couple of updates I just wanted to indicate on COVID. I just wanted to indicate that cases are down throughout Orange County. A week ago, we were at 1,500 cases over the weekend, and this last weekend was down to 1,000 cases, so that's a good movement in that direction. With regards to Laguna Woods, which is the whole community of Laguna Woods, which we're a part of, we saw a 7-case uptick in the last week, and fortunately for us, no additional deaths in the community, so it's held steady. I think the real positive news to mention is that both ICUs and hospitalizations are trending downward in Orange County. So that's a very positive direction that we're headed. And within our zip code, 86.8% of people are fully vaccinated within our zip code, and 93.2 have received 1 dose. So we're, percentage-wise, we're one of the highest success rates with regards to getting doses in people's arms with regards to vaccination. So we'll continue to do that. The other thing I wanted to mention is the FDA committee is making a recommendation to the full FDA and then on to the CDC with regards to booster shots. If you didn't hear that on the news, the recommendation is a booster shot for people 65 and years older or immune deficient. And then that will go on to a full FDA approval process So we anticipate hearing from the full FDA and CDC probably in the next couple of weeks with regards to that. And that would be then the formal recommendation to individuals out there in that age group as to when and how to go about getting booster shots. Our recommendation right now clearly is to stay aware of that information, contact your physician, and certainly the way they've been able to get vaccinations out there, you'll be able to go to Walgreens and Rite Aid and those type of pharmacies and get these boosters once they're fully implemented by the FDA and CDC approval. So we'll keep you posted on that. The second thing I wanted to mention, just real briefly, is our recruiting efforts continue. As you know, we've been struggling with recruiting and getting part-time people and full-time people into the organization because of COVID and other issues. I just wanted to mention that we're still taking applications for our gate ambassadors, which are residents working on a part-time basis. We're processing a lot of applications right now, but we still want to encourage people that are interested in being a gate ambassador to go to our website, and you can go on there and it's careers, and you can find the place to submit your application in there. And we have extra staff working in HR right now just to process applications so that we can get our gate ambassadors and our security program up to speed. So we appreciate the fact that people are interested. We also have some part-time rec positions as well. And then we are still doing a massive search out there for full-time rec people so that we can upgrade our recreation facilities and get them to full capacity. It's just been a struggle in the last 6 months due to a number of things, COVID. And, there's still state money being handed out. This is the last month, so that's had an impact as well. But we're moving forward, and we're getting some key positions filled, and I'm looking forward to having that full operation in the near future. And that's all I have, and I'll turn it over to Siobhan.
Thank you, Jeff. Honorable President, members of the board, it is my privilege this morning to use my update to share the next edition of Meet the Managers. This will introduce you to the new Director of the Maintenance and Construction Department, the Community Services Supervisor, and other key managers who have recently joined the Maintenance and Construction Department.
Baltazar Bart Mejia, Village Management Services Facility Manager, has more than 30 years of civil engineering experience that includes such municipal engineering fields as water distribution, storm drains, environmental compliance, subdivision, buildings, and more. Bart comes to VMS from the city of Costa Mesa, where he managed the Capital Improvement Program as city engineer. Prior to that, he managed the Water Services Capital Improvement Program for the city of Garden Grove. His skill set includes short and long-range planning, capital improvement programming, project development to delivery, project and personnel management, grant writing, budget preparation, and more. Bart manages electrical and electromechanical systems and equipment, monitors existing equipment, identifies safety and energy-related cost-benefit improvements, and provides project management of electrical-related improvements, upgrades, and construction projects for both housing mutuals and GRF.
When I first visited this community, I noticed beautiful landscapes, well-maintained buildings and roads, and vibrant and active residents. This community embraces technology, promotes sustainability, and is taking steps to reduce its carbon footprint. I am happy to have been selected to this position and to continue with these goals. With your support, I hope to also apply my experience to improve in other areas such as resiliency, implementing smart energy measures, and taking proactive steps to extend the life expectancy of facilities and their components while continuing to provide unparalleled customer service. Thank you.
Maria Popescu, Village Management Services' new Community Services Supervisor, has more than 10 years' experience in communications, public relations, and marketing, as well as 3 years' experience in housing solutions. Her skill set includes operations, logistics, project and budget management, and more. Prior to joining VMS, Maria was a special projects manager, logistics manager, and associate director of logistics for Illumination Foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to breaking the cycle of homelessness by providing housing options and navigation, behavioral health treatment, recuperative care, and substance abuse counseling. At VMS, Maria is instrumental in facilitating automation of the resales and leasing processes, which today are largely manual, redundant, and paper-based.
I feel so fortunate and happy to be part of the community services team here at Laguna Woods Village. I love working with and for people. As a team supervisor, I am seeking to identify technological advancement opportunities within the department, implement automation of resale, leasing, and other department processes to the maximum extent possible, and to effectively communicate with real estate professionals and escrow officers. Laguna Woods Village residents' experience starts with us in the Community Services Department when they first purchase or lease. This first impression lasts with them forever. We have the duty to create the most pleasant, memorable customer experience. The decision to move to Laguna Woods Village was made before they meet us, but we have to make sure we reinforce that positive decision with the quality of our services. I am obsessed with efficiency and effectiveness of department operations. I hope that my expertise in project management will improve the workflow in the department and positively impact the productivity standards, the staffing, the reporting, and company results.
Manuel Gomez, Village Management Services' new director of the Maintenance and Construction Department, has more than 30 years' experience in serving municipal public works departments. As the Maintenance and Transportation Manager for the City of Santa Ana, Manuel provided oversight of the maintenance, development services, and transportation functions of the Public Works Agency. As a Senior Project Manager for Interwest Consulting, he served as Interim Public Works Director for the cities of Laguna Beach and San Clemente. As Director of Public Works for the City of Irvine, Manuel provided leadership and policy direction for the development, construction, and maintenance of various public works infrastructure projects and programs, and was responsible for an annual operating budget of $65 million and a capital improvement program of more than $450 million. He worked closely with Woodbridge Village Association, a mutual benefit nonprofit corporation and private homeowners association with more than 9,600 homes and an overall population of approximately 30,000 residents. Manuel is responsible for VMS's enormous maintenance and construction department, which includes maintenance operations and services, damage restoration, projects division, and manor alterations.
Hi, I'm Manuel Gomez. One of my primary goals as your new Maintenance and Construction Department Director is to work with our dedicated staff to enhance our customer service interactions with our residents. We understand the importance of keeping your facilities and your home in the best condition possible for you to enjoy. I look forward to working with the boards and serving the residents of Laguna Woods Village. Thank you.
Koshida, Village Management Services' new Maintenance Operations Manager, has 17 years of experience applying extensive planning and problem-solving skills to enhance business processes and day-to-day activities. His skill set includes project and construction management, budget oversight, associate development, multifamily operations, capital improvement, and commercial management. Prior to joining VMS, Co was maintenance manager for Brookfield Properties, multi-site maintenance supervisor for City Realty Trust, and more. At VMS, Co manages the Maintenance Operations Division, including paint and prior to paint, carpentry, extermination, general maintenance, and interior component programs.
Hello, my name is Co. It's an honor to serve the residents of the village. I'm interested in learning from the residents and providing solutions to issues that will arise. It is my value to do the job the first time and in a timely manner. I look forward to serving the residents of the village and growing the Maintenance Operation Department.
That concludes this morning's presentation. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for CEO or COO? Okay, if
Yeah,
not, we'll
I
move
just have a
ahead
comment
to,
about Jeff's personnel shortages still. I took the opportunity a couple of weeks ago, talked to their HR manager. I have some connection with the universities and colleges around here. I got the information from HR managers, and I start going to the colleges and universities around here and talking to the placement offices and give them the information, especially for the part-time and people that looking for a temporary job or summer job, and probably they can come permanent, worker here. So I think that might help. I don't know. Colleges is still pretty much unstable. A lot of people don't go there, but that was the effort that I think I could make a contribution and help see if we can get more people and move forward with the shortage that we have. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
okay, any other comments, Kush?
Jeff, you mentioned there were recruiting efforts for ambassadors and what was the other position? Recreation staff. Were there any other staff people that we were trying to recruit?
Oh, yes. We're constantly doing recruiting, manor alterations, damage restoration. Those are full-time. So I mentioned the part-time because those are resident positions residents can fill right now. So we're trying to get part-time positions filled through our residents because it works more efficiently with regards to our gate ambassadors and our part-time recreations. That's why I led with that story. But yes, we're constantly in a recruitment mode right now. It's a challenge out there because we've had some people leave that with I'll call it the new environment out there where once COVID kind of settled down and businesses went back to hiring again, we had a number of employees that left for either higher paying jobs or more opportunity in other positions. So we've had a balance that, and so the recruitment is ongoing all the time, and we've actually added a part-time recruiter to help out John and Carrie's team so that we can be more efficient with regards to our turnaround time.
Interesting. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Director Munchnick, do you have a comment on the CEO report or Meet the Managers video?
Not at this time, I don't think. Okay, we'll go on to item 11, the consent calendar. Just want to let you know that on item C, the recommendation from the Maintenance Construction Committee will need further clarification, which will be given by Robert Muchnick with his M&C committee report. Yes, go ahead.
Move it from C down to 13D.
Okay, we'll move it from 11C to 13D. Okay, unless there's any objections to that. Okay, with that modification made, we'll vote on the consent calendar for items A and B. So if I don't hear any objection, we'll approve that by consensus. Okay? On to unfinished business and entertain a motion to approve the 2022 third business plan and the 2022 third reserves funding plan. Okay? Is there a second?
Second.
I have to read the resolutions. I have
Okay.
to,
We have a
record.
resolution coming here. Director
Yes.
Jarrett will read that.
Okay.
We'll hold your second. And
The 2022 Business Plan Resolution resolves September 21, 2021, that the business plan of this corporation for the year 2022 is hereby adopted and approved, and resolved further that pursuant to said business plan, the board of directors of this corporation hereby estimates that the net sum of $41,414,855 is required by the corporation to meet the third Laguna Hills Mutual operating expenses and reserve contributions for the year 2022. In addition, the sum of $15,927,043 is required by the corporation to meet the Golden Rain Foundation and the Golden Rain Foundation Trust operating expenses and reserve contributions for the year 2022. Therefore, a total of $57,341,898 is required to be collected from and paid by members of the corporation as monthly assessments. And resolve further that the board of directors of this corporation hereby approves expenditures from reserves in the sum of $10,523,314, of which $10,308,574 is planned from the replacement fund, $105,000 from the elevator replacement fund, $109,740 from the laundry replacement fund, and resolve further that the board of directors of this corporation hereby approves expenditures from restricted funds in the sum of $1,606,459, of which $1,133,000 is planned from the disaster fund, $400,000 from the unappropriated expenditures fund, $73,459 from the Garden Villa Rec Room Fund, and resolve further that the board of directors of the corporation hereby determines and establishes monthly assessments of the corporation as shown on each member's breakdown of monthly assessments for the year 2022 and is filed in the records of the corporation. Said assessments to be due and payable by the members of the corporation on the first day of each month for the year 2022. And resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution.
Okay, let's take these separate. So this is the 2022 business plan resolution, 03-21-XX. So you moved in second. Okay, any comments on this? Okay, all in favor, if you would, raise your hand. Okay, seeing everybody raise their hands, unanimous. Okay, let's go on to the 2022 reserve funding plan.
Okay. This resolution states, whereas Civil Code 5570 requires specific reserve funding disclosure statements for common interest developments, whereas planned assessments or other contributions to replacement reserves must be projected to ensure balances will be sufficient at the end of each year to meet the corporation's obligations for repair and/or replacement of major components during the next 30 years. And now, therefore, be it resolved, September 21, 2021, that the board hereby adopts the 30-year alternate reserve funding plan prepared by the Association Reserves for fiscal year 2022, and resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution.
Okay, do I hear a motion to accept?
I'll make the motion to accept this.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion? Okay, we'll do approval by hand raising. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hands. Any opposed? I don't see anyone. Okay, motion passes. Okay, on to other new business. Item 13, entertain a motion to approve a resolution for the Parking and Golf Cart Subcommittee Mission Statement and Charter. Director Jarrett, please.
All right. The Parking and Golf Cart Subcommittee was previously known as the Task Force. In March 2021, the board updated the third mutual committee appointments and changed the title of this group to a subcommittee, as the assigned duties of this subcommittee will be ongoing for years to come. A draft mission statement and charter was presented to the subcommittee and suggested revisions were made and accepted. The revised mission statement and charter was placed on the third MSC committee agenda for review. At the MSC committee meeting on September 13, 2021, the committee unanimously voted to recommend the board approve the resolution to establish a formal mission statement and charter for the Parking and Golf Cart Subcommittee. The resolution is to, as you know, is to establish a mission statement and charter. Resolved, the primary mission of the Third Mutual Parking and Golf Cart Subcommittee as a subcommittee of the Third Mutual Maintenance and Construction Committee shall be to oversee parking matters within the mutual for all vehicles, including golf carts, identify and recommend parking solutions or resolutions to parking issues that will improve safety and efficiency, review and address concerns of residents related to parking, provide possibilities for parking improvements, and inform the M&C Committee of issues, concerns, and opportunities in furtherance of these overall goals and objectives. Now, therefore, be it resolved, September 21, 2021, the Board of Directors of the Laguna Hills Mutual, hereafter Mutual, hereby assigns the duties and responsibilities of this subcommittee as follows. Number one, review and evaluate existing and proposed purchases and / installation of devices, systems, or materials that will generate, control, or make available parking options, and make recommendations to improve efficiency, reliability, sustainability, cost reduction, or operability, including items required to satisfy future needs. Number two, consult, review, and analyze proposed EV charging station locations with the Third Mutual Maintenance and Construction Committee for the purpose of long-term planning and to make recommendations for funding, installation, and sustainability. 3, review proposed needs for parking allocations or changes which are not budgeted with the third M&C Finance Committees and make recommendations. Number 4, investigate and evaluate funding sources for energy-related EV projects, including grants and incentives for which the Third Mutual may be eligible, and assist in preparation of any requests. Number 5, work with the VMS staff to support the parking needs of the residents of Third Mutual. Number 6, hold meetings as required and make progress reports to the various committees as necessary to fulfill the mission of the subcommittee. Resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution.
Okay, do I hear a motion to accept this?
I make a motion to accept.
Okay, Annie, and Robert seconds it. Any comments, questions? Okay, all in favor of this, please raise your hand. Okay, unanimous? Okay, on to number 13B. Entertain a motion to introduce a resolution for alterations fee schedule resolutions. Okay?
All right. The recommendation actually is for the Third Architectural Control and Standards Committee to recommend the Third Mutual Board approve the new alteration fee schedule, which allows for a more appropriate fee structure to the actual cost of staff labor expended on mutual consent alterations. The current fee schedule was adopted in 2017. The actual costs expended by manor alterations at its current rate do not align with the 2017 adopted fee schedule. Since alterations are optional and chosen by the member, it is reasonable that the cost for processing the applications and inspecting the work be borne by those electing to alter their manor. Given the processes and administrative requirements currently involved, it is suggested that the ACSC now consider updating the alteration fee schedule to reflect the increased administrative and processing cost increase for mutual consents. Okay, the new alteration or the proposed alteration / variance processing fee policy resolution reads as follows. Whereas alteration and variance requests require significant staff time for proper processing, including research, report preparation, and then presentation to the appropriate committee, and then the board. And whereas, in order to offset administrative costs associated with processing variance requests, which is often followed by multiple resubmittals and can be followed by an appeal to the board as mandated in accordance with Resolution 03-13-105. And whereas the mutual currently charges a $50 fee for a mutual consent and a $150 fee for a variance, And whereas the new alteration fee schedule increased to better align the fees with the administrative time it takes to process each task, whereas the board realizes that the current fee schedule does not appropriately cover staff time. Now, therefore, be it resolved, September 21, 2021, to partially offset administrative costs associated with processing alteration and variance requests, the board of directors of this corporation hereby revise the alteration and inspection fees as attached to the official minutes of this meeting. The variance request processing fee will increase to $662. The alteration processing fee will increase to $50. The unauthorized alteration fee will increase to $350. The revised inspection fee schedule will be adopted and resolved further in the event that a member requires an after the fact, that's an ATF, mutual consent for work completed without prior appropriate authorization. The following would apply as appropriate to the nature of the improvement work, defined as a member being responsible for a variance fee if the work required variance approval, an ATF mutual consent fee due to the work not having been applied for and permitted by manner alterations in advance of completion, a mutual consent fee totaling the cost of an appropriate mutual consent fee if the work had been properly approved, a demolition fee totaling the cost of the appropriation demolition fee if the work had properly been approved. Resolved further October 20, 2017, that resolution 03-17-120 adopted October 20, 2017 is hereby superseded and canceled. And resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the resolution.
Thank you very much. Do I hear a motion to accept this? Okay, Kush, and then Robert seconds it. Okay, any
28.
comments or questions on this?
28 day.
Goes on 28 days.
It's on 28 days.
Yeah, I'd like to share with the members that if you looked at the agenda packet that was online and you reviewed this resolution, it is not the same as the one that was just read. And the reason it's not the same is that we added a paragraph since the publication of the agenda that stipulates all the specifics if it's an after-the-fact issue. We wanted to clarify what actual costs the member would be responsible for if they if there's an after-the-fact issue related to either a variance or the demolition or things of that nature, what the fees are that they would incur. So that's why that resolved further paragraph is now in there.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, this goes. Yes, go ahead.
Since this was added subsequently, will it be put on the web so people can see it as an addendum or something, what we just read?
Yes, yes.
Good, that will be important. Thank you.
Siobhan shaking her head there. So everybody can still see.
Sorry, Siobhan.
Okay, Reza?
Yeah, in the landscaping, we have the provision that if there are variances outside around the unit, if the new owner accepts it, then it's okay. I don't think we haven't changed that requirement. That if there are variances around, plants and things like that that are, done by the previous owner, the new owner, if they don't accept it, the previous owner had to fix it. But if they accept the variance, then, it's okay. It's transferred. The difference here is that even if the new owner accepts the variances inside the unit, we're saying no, because it was done without permission. Is that correct?
Yes, go ahead, Robbie. This is Robbie Doncost.
Good morning, Mr.
in charge of
Chairman,
alteration,
board
manor
members,
alterations.
staff. To clarify, what the added paragraph constitutes is that if a member performed an unauthorized alteration and that alteration did not meet a standard but would have been necessary through the variance process, that they then would have to pay the variance fee in order to have the ASCS committee and the board approve that. Manor alterations can't arbitrarily approve an item that would be considered a variance. So it's just clarifying that
So
point.
we are not, if the variances that wasn't approved before is unauthorized variance inside a unit, at the time of sale, it's come to fruition that, yeah, that was done. We are not forcing the new or the previous owner to fix it or demolish it and turn it to the original condition before the sale goes through. I just want to make sure that it's clear.
Well, that is a possibility whereby in the inspection that is called, it is identified. Let's just say someone made a structural modification in the unit, and that would have required a variance. In that sense, it would be noted on the report that a variance would be needed, and manor alterations could not release that component until the board would hear that variance and allow that component to exist by right. If they weren't willing to pursue the variance, then we wouldn't have the authority to remove that condition as part of a sale.
So even if the new owner accept that variance, we are requiring it to be fixed, whatever that fix is. Is that?
Well, the application of the new owner accepting it doesn't bring it into compliance with this board. So this board would have to hear and accept that condition in order for the sale to occur, is my understanding.
There might be situation, I just want to make sure that the future confusion is not there. If there is a situation that the unit are in the sales process and went through and then we were a little bit late for inspection and all of that, what are we going to do with that variance? Is the new owner on the hook because the old owner is gone? It happened before.
Yes, sir. In an extreme situation where something is missed, the new owner would have to inherit that non-conforming condition, and it would be up to the board whether it's to levy a fine, whether it's to mandate that the owner bring this issue into compliance. That is something that would not sit with manor alterations at that point in time. It would truly be a board issue.
Yeah, I think that's undue burden on the new owner if they're not aware or not told about the situation, and now they're stuck with a situation that they have to fix it.
Well, that's supposed to be done in the process to let them know ahead.
I know, but
Okay, full disclosure.
In the past, it has happened that those things was discovered after the fact.
That's a separate issue
Yeah.
from what's on the table in front of you. What's on the table in front of you is that if during the inspection process for the sale of a manor, it is understood that there is a change that has required a variance that they don't have, then they would be billed in the following way and have to come before the board for the approval of that variance. That's during the inspection process. This does not address in any way, shape, or form if this gets missed in the inspection process. All this does is talk about the inspection process.
And
you're taking it a step beyond that is not related to this.
That's exactly what, because, what is the next step? Because that step is continuation.
They would still have to come before the board. If there's a known issue that would have required a variance, the new owner would still have to come before the board for approval of that. Or it's going to get caught eventually in the next inspection, which could be years down the road. But I think you're mixing apples and oranges. It's not related to anything that we're trying to do today.
Okay, Kush?
I think we are going way beyond the scope of this resolution. Because we have two inspection processes. Inspection one, which happens immediately when there's a request for sale, and the changes, it's noted in the inspection what are the deficiencies are, what is required to bring it up to speed or get the permits or whatever. inspection, there's a final inspection which confirms that everything that they mentioned in the first inspection is completed. Whether you need a new water heater or blah, 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 whatever changes. So I think what Reza is bringing up is a valid point, but it's not required at this point. We can discuss that at another point, another stage, and make it more complicated.
Yeah, and at a later stage, you'd also be talking about the severity. Like in the one case where a support beam was taken out, even though the architect had it in there, and alterations inspection caught it, and they had to run out real quick and put a support beam back in. Okay, so you have severity issues that come up as well.
Yeah, we're talking about inspection 1 and inspection 2. So we're covering only inspection 1, not inspection 2.
Right.
So the consequences of inspection 2, where that going to be addressed? When, where?
Say it again.
The consequence of inspection, second inspection. The first inspection identified all the problem, fix it. Now the sale went through. Now the inspector goes back to inspect, and some things are not done. What is the consequence of
The
that?
final inspection takes place and only then the escrow closes.
Yes.
It doesn't close before the final inspection is done.
Right.
That's the process we have at the resale department.
But we had cases that the escrow was closed and we had issues. And now there was issue that who's going to pay for it?
That's a separate issue.
That's a separate issue
That's an
totally.
oversight issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can
That's
address
fine.
that separately.
It's a legitimate issue, but it's
I
not related to
I
this.
just want to make sure that, nobody's caught in the, between the rock and a hard place, and they come here and complain that nobody told me so.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? This is on 28-day review.
Ralph?
Oh, Ralph, go ahead.
I find this thing a little confusing, and if we have to give this much discussion to it in order to clarify it, I think it needs to be rewritten.
It has been. This is a clarification of what was first proposed.
The only
Well-
discussion,
I'm still having trouble with it.
the only discussion has been Reza raising a point that's a legitimate point, but is not related to anything in this resolution. His point comes later, so other than that discussion, there's been no other issue.
Well, what is meant by the after the fact? That would mean after it's all done, ready to be sold or something, right?
Yeah, if I can speak to that, please. After the fact means that someone has performed an alteration, whether it could be installing a ceiling fan, electrical that hasn't been inspected, installed electrical outlets, and many times it happens at, as Director Reza is stating, happens caught at resale because we don't do periodic inspections into the manors. So, and after the fact means the member is coming to manor alterations many times at a closing and saying, well, this was on my inspection report. You want me to get a mutual consent for a ceiling fan. Well, okay, now this is after the fact. That member did not perform this alteration within the correct sequencing, and because, and we have this riddled throughout the village whereby there are improvements made, and many times it's just someone doesn't know the process, or the contractor says, oh, I can do that tomorrow, sign here, I'll install your ceiling fan, no problem. And no permit is pulled with manor alterations or the city for inspection of code, and it's caught at a different point in time. That is considered an after the fact. It's not done before, but it's done after it was installed.
I can understand the term. Does that get the greater fine or the greater after the
Correct.
fact cost here then?
Correct.
Maybe it's terminology that's getting me messed up.
So it incurs a fine due to the fact that it's out of sequencing, and we ask And that's the clarification, which is installed in two places, and someone brought that up. It is included into the resolution 03-21-XX, and it is also to be included on the alteration fee schedule, letting them know this sequence is part of the fee process. It's in two places. Because actually, it's...
Would an after the fact then get both the 662 and the 350?
No, the 662 is truly just a variance request fee, and we should really bifurcate those two components. A variance request is for an item that is not a standard allowed alteration.
Okay.
The variance request is something that the board and the ACSC would have to hear and approve of and say, okay, this is good for the manor member, this is good for the community, the village, and we approve this as something not being standard. Completely separate issue.
So they would not be, Ralph, if a person put in a ceiling fan, that would be a standard item. That would not be a variance issue. So they would not be fined they would not be required to pay the 662. They would only be required to pay the mutual consent fee, right?
Correct, and the penalty.
And the penalty fee.
Yes.
Okay?
Okay, the unauthorized alteration fee,
Right,
but not
right.
the variance unless I
Right.
replace a wall or something
That's
like
right.
that. Okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, I believe we had a motion and a second on this, and then it goes to 28-day notice. Okay, hearing no more comments or questions, we'll go ahead and move on to item 13C, and this is actually in two parts. You'll understand as we get into it, but the first part is about an actual pest control and termite policy resolution, and item 2 is to approve and authorize a member of Manor 5247, Duenas, to fumigate a single unit. So we'll take them individually and clarify between the two. So let's go with item 13C, item 2 first.
The pest control?
Go ahead.
The pest control, correct?
Pest control policy.
Yes, okay. The existing mutual pest control does not allow members who reside in freestanding single-unit buildings to schedule fumigation by whole structure tinting at their own expense. Oh, that's not two. I'm sorry. That's the other one.
That's the other one.
Okay. Let's go with the one to authorize and approve the member of Manor 5247, Dwayne. It's just what you said, to fumigate the single unit building. Okay. Let me get there, please. I thought I was organized. We're going to go to C1.
Page 11. It's the yellow page.
I'm coming. Oh, here it is. Okay. Pest control for termites, right? Whereas the buildings that are qualified for whole structure tinting in any given year are scheduled for fumigation the following fiscal year, as the fumigation costs are based on a predetermined contract value per building type. And whereas manor owners have requested that fumigation take place in the building the same fiscal year they are qualified in for various reasons, and whereas in an effort to accommodate these requests, when the current year's budget is already allocated to a scheduled group of buildings, the board will allow manor owners of freestanding single-unit buildings to arrange for fumigation by whole structure tinting at their own expense, provided that the conditions in item 3 below are met without exception. Now, therefore, be it resolved October 19, 2021, the board hereby adopts the following procedure with regard to scheduling and implementation of the fumigation process as part of the Mutual's Pest Control for Termites program. The Mutual shall provide members and tenants of buildings scheduled for treatment with 4 weeks advance written notice specifying the mutual's intent to perform fumigation in accordance with the mutual's authorized standard practice. Each member or tenant has the option of arranging for accommodations, in addition to any accommodations which may be provided by the mutual during the fumigation process, and taking any additional steps that they believe are necessary and appropriate at their own expense. If the mutual receives at its mailing address no less than 2 weeks prior to the scheduled fumigation a written request from a member or tenant to delay fumigation, and if the written request is due to a documented medical reason and includes an estimated duration of the medical ailment signed by a licensed physician, prohibiting the resident from vacating the unit. 2A, the mutual shall allow for one-time rescheduling of the fumigation on behalf of the requesting resident. 2B, staff shall work with the resident and reschedule fumigation. Considerations affecting the rescheduling include the nature of the medical issue and the timing of the request within the program year. Requests made late in a program year may preclude fumigation until the following program year. C, staff will refer residents who request a second rescheduling of fumigation to the board for action. D, staff shall issue a letter to members and tenants of an affected building advising that the fumigation of the building has been postponed and will be rescheduled by the mutual at the earliest date possible, and that they will be advised of that date in accordance with the notification procedure. Item 3. The mutual will allow members who request that their qualified freestanding single-unit buildings be fumigated by whole structure tinting in the current fiscal year to do so at their expense when the following conditions are met. A, the building is not attached to other residential buildings and contains a single residential manor. The building has qualified for fumigation based on the inspection findings in the termite report issued to the member by the mutual's fumigation contractor. C, the member agrees to provide the termite inspection report to staff. The building is not on the fumigation schedule for the current fiscal year, where funds have already been allocated for the program. E, the member agrees to only use the exterminating company currently under contract with Third Mutual for fumigation by whole structure tinting. The member agrees to be responsible for scheduling the fumigation, to enter into an agreement with the mutual's fumigation contractor, and to pay all associated costs to fumigate the building. G, the member agrees to pay all costs for lodging if the unit is occupied by the member, lessee, or other registered occupant. The member agrees to notify staff 2 weeks prior to the scheduled fumigation in order to prepare the liability waiver and to allow for a roof inspection to be conducted by staff and/or the mutual's roofing contractor on the building to be fumigated. I, the member agrees to have the fumigation contractor provide written evidence the fumigation took place as scheduled that is consistent with what it regularly provides to Third Mutual for buildings fumigated under the contract. J, the member will provide to Third Mutual a warranty for work consistent with the warranty it currently provides for buildings scheduled for fumigation by Third Mutual. K, the member agrees to sign a waiver provided by staff that holds Third Laguna Hills Mutual harmless for any problems, issues, damage, loss of property, etc., for the fumigation they independently contract for with the exterminating company. L, the member acknowledges that any dry rot repairs to mutual property will be remediated by the mutual at mutual expense as soon as scheduling allows. Resolve further, the Resolution 03-12-138, adopted November 20, 2012, is hereby superseded and canceled. As resolved further, that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution.
Thank you very much. Do I hear a motion in a second for this? Okay, moved in second. Okay. Any discussion on this? This will go on 28-day notification. Any comments, clarifications need to be made by the board? Okay, if not, that'll go on 28-day notification. And let's go on to a specific case that deals with fumigation request at 5247 Duenas.
Okay. For the existing mutual pest control for termite policy does not allow members who reside in freestanding single-unit buildings to schedule fumigation by whole structure tending at their own expense. The member of 5247 Duenas has requested approval to perform a fumigation of their single-unit building now as a condition of closing the current escrow on the property. Under normal protocol, this building would be fumigated in 2022 on a schedule determined by the mutual.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there a motion to accept or deny this? Okay, Robert, is there a second? Okay, second, Reza. Okay, clarification. Robert, you want to talk to this?
Yes, I would like to speak to this. This motion includes the basic elements that we're now putting on the 28-day resolution, that the member has to pay for all the costs associated with it. If there are lodging requirements for any of those members, they're responsible for those things, those elements. If they need to notify M&C so that if there's dry rot and things of that nature that need to be repaired, our folks can go in and do that either before or after, depending upon the arrangement. But that's where we are with this, and it's an attempt to allow the closing of a particular unit. The owner is willing to pay the expenses, and I think we're appropriate in accommodating that request.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Kush, go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify that I heard that they would be able to do the termite process right away and not wait till 2022.
Correct.
Okay. Because I heard it that they are on a cycle for 2022.
No, this building would be on the cycle for 2022. However, it's in escrow, and the current buyer does not want to close without the termite fumigation taking place. The current owner is willing to pay for that right now and schedule it with Newport, our current exterminating company.
Correct. So all these things, but the way it sounded did not sound that was all included in it. But in any case, as long as we clarify it, it's fine.
Yeah, we've never had a process for this formally in the past. That's why it's being brought forward.
Yes, I'm familiar with all the goings on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? We'll be voting on this today, so any clarifications you need? Okay, hearing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Okay, I see no dissenting votes, so it's approved unanimously. Okay, thank you very much. At this time, want to remind you that item 11C is now item 13D, and we're going to be talking about the recommendation to cancel applications submitted for the Charge Ready 2 program. I'll turn over to Director Muchnick on this.
Okay, thank you, President Parsons. The only reason I asked that this be removed from the consent calendar is that the statement in the consent calendar is different than what is in the staff report. The staff report on page 1 of 6, agenda item 11C, where the staff report is, page 1 of 6, it says entertain a motion to cancel 12 of the 14 EV charging station applications. However, in the consent calendar, it just said cancel applications. And I just wanted to make sure that we were only canceling 12 of the 14. And let me explain to everyone, just for make it easy for the people at home, especially who might be watching, what the approach is. It has been determined that the actual cost of implementing this program is really very, very expensive, over $1 million if we did all the different applications. We have to commit to a 10-year program with Edison. that we will maintain all of the charging stations for 10 years. And the locations of the charging stations, when we reviewed them, did not seem to make the most sense because we would be wind up giving up what amounts to 68 parking spaces to be able to install all the 15 original charging stations. So we decided that it made more sense for us to try to work more cooperatively with GRF to have charging stations placed, for the most part, in locations that were more central, such as the clubhouse parking lots. However, Gate 11 does not have direct access to a clubhouse. Yet, every one of the manors in Gate 11 is a freestanding manor. They could install their own charging station if they wanted in their own garage. So that Gate 11 no longer became an issue. Gate 14, however, does not have that option for many of the people in Gate 14. So the two charging stations that we want to leave in the application process at this point in time are both in Gate 14, since they don't have access to a clubhouse. However, just as another note related to this, that doesn't mean we are necessarily going to go forward with the charging stations in Gate 14. At this moment in time, there is absolutely no cost to us to continue the process. We will have a period of time in the future to make a final decision about whether or not we actually do want to install these charging stations in Gate 14. One of the things you need to keep in mind is that these are level 2 charging stations. They are not fast chargers. So the amount of time that a car would need to spend at a level 2 location to get a full charge would be hours, okay? Where if they were fast chargers, it obviously would be very different. They could recharge much more rapidly, and we could obviously service more vehicles. So that's another reason we're not really excited about this program, because they're level 2 chargers, not fast chargers. But we still wanted to keep the option open at the moment for Gate 14. And as a disclaimer, what I said at the M&C meeting is, I do not live in Gate 14. I'm just looking out for the interests of the people who do live in Gate 14.
Okay, so this is being brought forward as a recommendation.
To
Before
cancel.
we continue discussion or questions, let's go ahead and get a motion on the floor, if we would. Anybody like to make a motion? Okay, Lynn moves. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Oh, okay, or Craig seconds. Okay. Now, further discussion. Do you want to talk about the 10-year requirement to keep them up to date?
Right. If Southern California Edison is to do some of the upgrades electrically that are necessary to be able to support the charging stations, they also want, if we put in the charging stations, they want to be able to collect data so that they understand what the usage and what's going on with it and whether or not it's productive and makes sense for them, et cetera. We have to sign and commit to maintaining those units for 10 full years. And their approximately cost is $1,900 per year per unit for us to maintain them. And that doesn't preclude us from selling the electricity at those charging stations to our members, but it's not clear that we would even break even in terms of the cost.
Okay, I think Reza was first and then Kush.
The problem is with limited spaces for the chargers. As we move forward, right now, for example, in the areas that people cannot have charging a station, they're forbid to buy, electric car because they don't know where to charge. They have to go to Iris Hotel or go somewhere else and sit outside for 3-4 hours to charge their vehicles. I don't think what we're doing is a solution for people who have electric vehicle. I understand GRF might be putting a station for their own units that they have. What is our real approach to this issue for members? if I understood correctly, that California by 2035 is going to be all electric. That's not far off. That's about 10, 15 years. And in 10, 15 years, every unit here should have a charging station for themselves. And these things are Band-Aid, and these are the, as you said, these are secondary charges, which takes a long time. So if you have 3 units, you probably at best, you can, in 8 hours, you can serve only 3 cars. And with the cost of maintenance and all of that, you have to sell the electricity much higher in order to recover your costs. Other than that, it's going to be a loss. Is there anybody looking at more comprehensive approach to this issue as far as the infrastructure goes in order to be able to provide in next 5 or 6 years, charge all the members having access to charging stations? Yeah, I understand. If you're in gate 11, you put, buy your, electric vehicle and they come and install it in your garage and you're done. But if you're on gate 10, and you have carport, you don't have that access. So you really cannot buy electric car, as per se.
Right.
If you
Let
live
me
in the
answer just a little bit
community.
on that. Some of these places don't make sense, okay? They're at the end of cul-de-sacs, and they would have to take away parking from people in that cul-de-sac, and they couldn't use them unless they're charging their carports. Where they should be put is going to take further study to get into. And to answer your question, by 2035, there may come a time where an ROI is not applicable. We may just have to do it for one reason or another. But for right now, it just doesn't make sense on some of the locations that they have identified that have gone forward. Now, one thing we didn't mention was GRF has to wrestle with whether or not to put them at the different clubhouses. So they're going to have to deal with that. If that's the case, there are other people that feel that you're going to have a lot of other charging stations around, such as grocery stores, supermarkets, strip malls, things like that.
But
that
that's not
people
the
will be able
solution
to
for us.
use.
That's not the solution for the
I know,
members to go to the
but right
grocery
now,
store.
it doesn't make sense for us to move forward, especially like, let's just use the garden villas. Are we going to go through and put in new lines all the way from the transformers so that everybody can have access to a drop down? We can't afford that. We may have to in the future bring lines in, but then the individual is going to have to pay for the accommodation from the line we bring in to the meter over to their station. But there are a lot of questions that we don't have answers for.
Yeah, I think
yet.
Point of order.
1 second.
Yes. Point of order. I understand what Rez is saying, but we need to either speak to the motion or not speak to the motion. Where you're going, Reza, is off an entirely different tangent. We're talking about whether or not to continue the application for the 14 stations or reduce it to the 2 stations at the moment, based on the information at A, their level 2 charges, B, the locations are not good, and C, the cost to the third is excessive at this point. That doesn't mean that we don't still need to address the question you're talking about, but you're not speaking to the motion.
Right. Let's go ahead with Kush. Go ahead.
I think this is a no-go for me, this motion. And this program that Southern California Edison is providing is like they're throwing crumbs at us. This is not the program we want to follow and get through. Because first of all, the technology is old. We need fast chargers. So we need that. And is there a possibility that the cost of these fast chargers is such that we get the money and we can buy, the chargers that they're giving us is such that we can pay the difference and get fast chargers? So this, according to me, is not a good solution. So I will be voting against it because this is not a good viable solution in the positive direction.
Point of clarification. Kush, I'm hearing you're voting against the motion to reduce it from 14 to 2 applications.
Even then, it is not worth it because we are still buying old technology And
Okay.
there's no point in spending $1,900.
Now
on
I
them.
understand. Thank you.
That is what I mean.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
you're wasting our dollars. That's what I mean.
So
Any
you
other
want to,
questions,
you would move to
comments?
cancel all 14?
Pardon?
You would move to cancel all 14 of them?
But whatever your motion is, I'm against that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think, Ralph, are you thinking about something, or Craig? Go ahead.
So us voting on this only means the application does not drop out for everything. If the application's there, and we're not agreeing to do this now.
Correct. We're not agreeing to anything. This now puts the burden on Edison to go out and do the site inspections and things of that nature. Once they complete all of that, we will have still an ample opportunity to decide, do we want to go forward? We're not signing anything or doing anything at this point. I just wanted to leave that option open because of Gate 14 not having access. But depending on what GRF does, we may cancel the other two as well.
I just don't know. Do you have any comments? Okay. John?
The GRF M&C committee discussed this, and we pretty well agreed we would go with the clubhouses.
Okay. That was a recommendation to go to the board?
They're still discussing it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Any other comments, questions?
May I hear the motion again?
Okay, could you read back the motion, Grant?
So the motion, as stated in the staff report, is to entertain a motion to cancel 12 of the 14 applications for SCE Charge Ready 2 program.
Okay, and that was seconded? Okay?
Yes.
If there are no other comments or questions, we'll go for a vote at this time. So all in favor of the motion, signify by raising your hand.
We can also use the electronic voting if you
Okay,
would like.
well, let's just go ahead in the interest of time here.
Okay.
Okay, raise your hand if you're in favor of the motion. Okay, against? Okay, one against, the rest four. Okay?
I wanted to clarify, did Director Engdahl mean to vote for or against?
I voted support.
Okay.
For it, okay?
I got my hand just popped up at the wrong time.
Okay, thank you for that. We'll move on to committee reports at this time, and we'll start with finance.
Okay. Thank you, President Parsons, and try to move this along as quickly as possible. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you the financials for the month ending July 31st. A number of slides that will be presented today demonstrate comparison data for the past 2 and sometimes 3 months, if appropriate. Grant, slide number 2, please. This slide depicts income for Third Mutual for the last 3 months, May, June, and July. Looking at the far left-hand side of the slide, assessment revenue year-to-date at the end of April is $20,183,000, which is $2,883,000 more than reported for the previous month of June. When we discuss this part of the slide each month, the monthly increase in assessment revenue is almost exactly the same. The reason being is that it represents the money that is received each month from GRF. When you pay your monthly assessment, you make your check out to GRF. GRF takes the monthly assessment, deducts its portion, which for this year is just over $205 a month, and returns the balance to the Third Mutual, which is approximately $468 per manor per month. And if you multiply that out by the 6,102 manors, that's how you come up with the $2,883,000 that we get each month from GRF. So that's why that number stays fairly stable every month. I ask now that you look at the non-assessment revenue, which is the set of bar graphs second from the left side of the slide. Non-assessment revenue is a positive $952,000 for the month of July, ending the month of July. This is an increase of $135,000 over the previous 5-month total of $817,000. Now, shifting your gaze to the bar graph in the middle of the slide, you will be looking at total revenue, which for the 6 months ending 31 July was $21,135,000, an increase of $3,018,000. The set of bars second from the right of the slide for the cumulative months of May, June, and July. Third had $19,530,000 in total expenses. This represents an increase in total expenses of $4,047,000 for July over June. The expenses for July are just about $1,300,000 greater than for the month of June. This is not unexpected. For those who watched last month, you may remember that I shared with you that we expected our monthly expenses to increase since we are now tenting manners for fumigation, trimming trees, engaging in slope management, in these cases, all using outside contractors who are now billing us. Looking at the bar graph on the far right of the chart, this is the visual for net revenue. Third Mutual had a net revenue of $1,605,000 for the 6 months ending July 31st. This is down from the net of the previous month by $1,029,000. Again, I cautioned last month that with our expenses likely to increase because of the number of programs that I just listed, including also things like waistline remediation and copper line remediation, invoices for these projects began arriving and needed to be paid. Increased expenses should continue for the next number of months until the projects for this year are completed. Next slide, Grant, please. This slide presents data for income for the operating fund only for the 3 months ending July 31st. Looking at the bar graph at the far left of the chart, assessment revenue over the most recent 30 days of June was $1,747,000, the same for each of the previous 2 months. I explained the reason the assessment revenue stays the same month over month in the previous slide. GRF collects our assessments, takes its share, and passes the remainder on to us. Now, shifting your gaze to the second set of bar graphs from the left, non-assessment revenue increased by $132,000. For the 7-month period at the end of July, we had a total non-assessment end of July, we had a total non-assessment revenue of $870,000. Now, focusing on the middle of the slide, Third Mutual had a total revenue in the operating fund of $1,879,000 for the month of ending July, which is down slightly from the previous month by $5,000. Adding the first 7 months together, total revenue for the operating fund only for 2021 is $13,101,000. The bar graphs, second from the right side of the chart, depict total expenses for the operating fund for the 7 months ending July 31st, which were $13,395,000. Actual expenses for the past month was $2,307,000. This is an increase of $134,000 in expenses over the previous month. Subtracting total expenses year-to-date from total revenue year-to-date takes us to the bar graph on the far right side, which leaves us now with a negative variance of $294,000 for the 7 months ending July 31st. Grant, next slide, please. This slide compares our actual revenues and expenses to what was originally budgeted. The actual and budget assessment revenue continue to be one and the same month over month. If there is any change in any given month, the change comes in non-assessment revenue. Currently, we budgeted, or should I say we expected, more non-assessment revenue than we actually received. For the 7 months ending July 31st, we budgeted for $1,264,000 in non-assessment revenue, but only received, which is also referred to as actual revenue, $952,000 for the 7-month period. The difference between the actual and budgeted is a negative $312,000. This negative variance carries over to the middle set of bar graphs, total revenue, which is therefore negative $312,000 in budgeted versus actual revenue. Now, looking at the bar graphs in the section second from the right, total expense, one can see that our actual expenses year-to-date were $2,181,000 less than budgeted. If you take the $21,711,000 and you minus the actual expenses of $19,530,000, you come up with the actual expenses of $2,181,000 less than budgeted. The bar graphs on the far right show us that Third Mutual is left with $1,869,000 revenue over expenses for year-to-date ending 7/31/2021. The $1,869,000 is derived by subtracting the $312,000 negative variance in total revenue from the positive balance of $2,181,000 in budget expenses compared to actual expenses. Next slide, please. This slide provides you with a picture of select budget items and the current variance associated with each for the last 3 months. As you can see, outside services, employee compensation, net allocation of mutuals, and professional fees continue to show a positive variance, while utilities and telephone, insurance, and investment income, and our unrealized gain loss on AFS continue to demonstrate a negative variance. The utilities and telephone include our water situation, which has been discussed quite a bit among the committee members, as well as in committee and during this board meeting. You'll hear more about it, but the water situation is, the billing for that has gotten quite large, much larger than we had anticipated or had hoped. And the insurance, the same situation. We're running a negative balance there, but we've discussed that on a fairly regular basis as well. Next slide, please. This slide depicts 2 pie charts for comparison purposes, month over month again for total non-assessment revenue. Looking at the pie chart for the end of July, overall we see an increase of $134,906 in total non-assessment revenue. Comparing the 2 pie charts, June and July, we have seen a slight decrease in the categories of fees and charges to residents and investment income. In the categories of lease processing fees, miscellaneous revenue, and golf cart electric, we saw a slight increase for the month of July. Next slide, please. As reported earlier, Third had additional expenses of $4,047,706, which is considerably greater than our expenses for June, for a total expense year-to-date of $19,530,282. For those who continue to ask about the cost of our legal fees on a month-over-month, the fees decreased in July compared to June and represent about 1% of our total expenses. As of the end of July, our overall legal expenses are running slightly under budget. In terms of percent of total expenses, the categories of insurance and outside services saw an increase over the previous month, while materials and supplies and employee comp and related saw a decrease. Next slide, please. For this slide, as usual, I'd like to direct you to look first at the lower right-hand corner. As of the 31st of July, Third had $30,616,000, a decrease of almost $600,000 from the previous month in reserves and the disaster fund. The replacement fund at the end of June was $19,820,000, while at the end of July it was $19,837,000, a slight increase of $17,000 over the previous month. The biggest decrease in funds in this category took place in the disaster fund and unappropriated expenditures. These 2 funds were used to pay the insurance premium for the first $225 million of insurance. These 2 funds will continue to show a decline over the next few months as we continue to pay for our additional insurance premiums from this fund. We will begin to replenish these funds at a greater rate beginning in January when our monthly HOA assessment increases. Also, it should be noted that year-to-date, Third had $8,034,000 in contributions and interest added to these funds, while we had $6,058,000 in expenditures. So at the moment, things are continuing to move in the right direction, with contributions and interest outpacing expenditures from these funds by $1,976,000 year-to-date. All right. Next slide. This slide compares different fund balances for the past 5 years, which have now, as we reported on the previous slide, just over $30 million are in these funds. Next slide, please. This slide provides you a picture of the resale situation for Third for the past 3 years. Each month in 2021, resales continued to equal or exceed the same month in the last 2 years. A total of 269 resales year-to-date is an increase of 90 over the same time last year. The good news in terms of resales continues. Looking at the top right-hand corner of the slide, we can see dollar-wise how we compare to average sales year-to-date. The average sale price per manor for the first 7 months of 2021 is $457,742. This is an increase of just over $40,000 in average sale year-to-date when compared to last year. One final thing I'd like to share on the treasurer's report that's not on the slide is that we now have transferred our investments out of Sageview, and they are now over in SunWest Bank in money market funds that are now paying 0.12 points, 12%, 12 points, I'm sorry, it's 12 points, and we're no longer paying Sageview a financial fee. So it's a turnaround of about 17 points, all right? But that has been taken. So that concludes the treasurer's report. Our next finance committee meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, October 5th at 1:30.
Thank you very much. On to the Architectural Control and Standards Committee. I'll be reporting on that. During our meeting that took place last month, Mr. Donkost gave us an update on several topics. We had no other actions, so it's basically information. Meeting with the city of Laguna Woods, I inquired about the city's willingness to streamline specific processes, and that deals with not policies, but permits. And Mr. Donkost confirmed the city has expressed willingness to work with Manor Alterations and is scheduling ongoing meetings to maintain contact and further discussions to come. Also, the debate is still, we're trying to resolve issues with the Southern California Air Quality Management Department and Cal OSHA as to why they are requiring different things on the removal of asbestos. We're still working on that, and we're trying to get a resolution so we know how to move forward. We think that there's undue cost to people that have to have asbestos removed, so we're still working on that. More to come. Items for future agendas, the next meeting we'll have, we're going to be talking about penalties for contractors and the need for or not a need for a demolition permit, the pros and cons of that. So things may be coming out on that soon. So our next meeting is September 27th, 2021. Okay, now we'll move on to the Landscape Committee with we'll go on to Report of Communications, Director McCary. Thank you.
Thank you, President Parsons. The third Communication Committee, which is a quarterly committee, last met August 4th, and the next meeting is scheduled for October 13th at 1:30 p.m. as a virtual meeting.
Okay, thank you. And Report of Maintenance Construction Committee, Director Muchnick.
Okay, thank you, President Parsons. Committee met on Monday, the 13th of September. Earlier in this meeting, the board addressed the issue of fumigation that was recommended by the M&C Committee. The M&C Committee also discussed two issues that were referred to the Architectural Committee. One, the issue of the transference of floor noise from one level of building to the level below, and two, the request for a handrail. In addition, the M&C Committee introduced Manuel Gomez as the new director. You saw the video earlier today, also introducing him to you folks. The project log was approved by consent. There were a few member comments, two of which were responded favorably by the committee. A third comment had to do with changes in the parapet wall. The member expressed dissatisfaction with the changes because they liked the southwestern architecture. The changes to the parapet walls began a number of years ago for two reasons. One, the dry rot and leaks that were regularly occurring in these structures that were both very difficult to permanently fix, given the design, and two, the constant increasing expense to the HOA that could just not continue to be justified in terms of those repairs. The next meeting of the third M&C is scheduled for Monday, November 1st at 1:30.
Thank you very much. And I'll be reporting on the Parking and Golf Cart Subcommittee. We met on August 18th. I believe we reported some things last month at our board meeting. We discussed EV chargers that you heard about today, and also about our charter that we helped develop that you heard today and we passed. So those were significant things that came up there. Next meeting is to be arranged. Stand by for further notification of that time. Okay, on to the Garden Villa Rec Room Subcommittee. Director Jarrett.
We last met in June 8th and already reported on that meeting. The next meeting will be September the 29th at 1:30 p.m.
Thank you very much. If you continue with the Landscape Committee report, please.
Okay, the committee met on September the 2nd. Lawn mowing went from 7 to 9 days at the first of the month, as I mentioned earlier. In Gate 5, there is a bare area in United where a drought-tolerant project is in progress. It was planted months ago, but the long grass there didn't work out, so it was stripped and replanted. A lot of people were asking about that bare area, so that's the answer. We're working on several items right now. One is the drought-tolerant campaign to ask residents to put in drought-tolerant plantings in their own backyard. So, also, we have to reduce the potted plants on balconies and multi-story buildings. This coincides with our guidelines, so we are watching out for such problems and bringing them to the residents' attention when possible. If not, they are being reported to compliance. We are always looking for ways to reduce water usage, and that's one such way. Another thing, we're begging the people to use buckets instead of using their hoses for water, because they're really using a lot of water with the hoses. Landscaping was short-staffed by 6 positions at the first of the month, and HR is constantly recruiting. Mr. Wyman spoke with vector control and found out the creek is not the source of the mosquitoes. The mosquitoes are breeding in potted plant saucers and other still water areas. Another reason why we need to ask people to remove a lot of potted plants. Mr. Wyman said that we're still waiting for approval from OC Parks to get the 100-foot clearance from the village perimeter. The rat population is unbelievable here, and he's always trying to find a better solution. Tree requests were processed today and approved within the consent calendar. A landscape revision request was made for the common area behind a unit on Bahia Blanca. Documents were provided to the committee for review. The committee did not agree with the residents' request, which included using common area, pebbles, etc. Mr. Wyman recommended to table this request and work with resident for an agreeable plan for all. The committee unanimously agreed. Several member comments were heard and addressed at our meeting, and we were happy to see residents finally in the audience. Attendees were reminded that there is a panel regarding water use shown at 7 p.m. on Sunday nights on TV6 during September. So that's a reminder for all of you out there. 7 p.m. Sunday nights, TV6 for the water panel. The annual meeting presentation on October 7th, we'll have an up-to-date slides on the landscape part of the program, a lot of statistical data. The next meeting for landscape will be Wednesday, September the 29th at 9:30 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you. And did you want to mention anything about mosquito breeding?
I did.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't pick up on that.
Well, I mean, Mr. Wyman, he talked to Vector Control about this because a lot of people were thinking that the mosquitoes was in the creek, but they're not originating there. They're originating in the pots. That's why we really, really need to be careful out there to not overwater our potted plants.
And probably drain your saucers of excess water.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, on to the report of the Resident Policy and Compliance Committee. Director Jarrett again, please.
Oh, the Residents Policy and Compliance Committee, we were going to meet on August the 24th, but we realized that day that there were 2 leasing matters on the agenda, and we didn't have enough information really to discuss these at that time. So we moved these items forward to the next meeting, which has yet to be scheduled.
Okay, thank you very much. Any committee reports I missed for Third Mutual? Okay, let's go ahead with water here.
Did we have a slide? Director Donna is not here.
Is there a slide, please? Director McCary will do this.
All right. Yes, there we have a slide. 1 second.
So, Thank you, Grant. Water conservation, a task for all. Some of the things we can do is watch TV6. Water conservation panel, there was a panel, 7 p.m. Sundays in September. And you can also watch this on YouTube. There's a link to this, https://youtube.b/mflax and then 3QSNM. And this will link you to the homepage. Kay Hansen, El Toro Water District Director, Kurt Wyman, VMS Landscape Director, Elfie Addington from United Mutual, and Lynn Jarrett from Third Mutual. And the moderator for this is Director Donna Rain-Sostek. So please stay tuned for that.
Thank you very much. Water is a big problem for us right now. And if you watch the budget, it just keeps going up and up and up. So please tune in and help us out with water conservation. Thank you very much. Okay, let's move ahead to GRF committee highlights, please. CAC, Director Karimi.
Thank you, President Parson. There was some announcement that the meeting was on September 9th at 1:30. Some announcement was Pool 1 boiler is working but not completed, so it's still in progress, the work in progress. The gate for Garden Center 2, waiting on part still to come in to fix that. There was some extended pickleball hours to 9 p.m. for nights. There was Zumba class in Pool 2. And there are outside concert in Clubhouse 2, October 2nd, Village Bazaar in Clubhouse 5 at 10 a.m. And we're working on holidays, dinner for Thanksgiving and Christmas. Also, CAC was looking at finding some outdoor location for members' activities that possibly can be charged, as fee for it. The location that was looked at or discussed at Passive Park, which already there are music there over the weekends, all week. And there Equestrian Arena that offer for events. Clubhouse 4 outside back to the golf course. Open space behind the community center, and Clubhouse 7. Those are the area looked at, but these are at preliminary stages, see what we want to do in order to make it available for outside activities for the member at the charge that, is going to be identified in the future. The other item of discussion was use of court for reservation for pool and tennis court and pickleball and paddle tennis. There are charges for those reservation to use a court. It was $750 for each of those, which comes to $750 a month. There was a lot of discussion from the members for and against. But we couldn't really identify that really it's needed or not, so it was postponed. The recreation center going to take some survey of people for those from the pool, from the pickleball, from paddle tennis and tennis to see if it's viable to keep the court or just disconnect it, go to the past. The other issue was discussed was revenue generation ideas. The decision was to create a subcommittee to look at ideas for generating revenues for GRF. One of them was having a coffee stand or something at the tee box area for the where the ranges are, and I think that gained some ground, and the discussion was that might even generate 150 plus a year income if that goes. The other one was discounted booklets and classes for outside, and there were some of those ideas. With the committee, anybody interested, just contact the CAC the GRF CAC and put your name in, so you'd be part of the committee. And if you have any ideas, you can put it down and send it to them, and they will consider that. The next meeting is scheduled for October 14 at 1:30 p.m.
Okay, I just have a few questions on it. Who's the president of the CAC, Community Activities Committee?
They're going to assign one. There was Egan was, for the last time. Yeah.
Oh, Yvonne.
Yvonne was last
Okay.
time, but I don't know if that's going to be permanent.
Okay, so
or
they can
not.
contact her
Yeah.
questions. Okay. What about Clubhouse 3 or the PAC resuming activities? What's the latest update on that?
No discussion of that last
Okay.
time. I don't know.
We saw something recently online that you could buy tickets, but there weren't any activities on there. Siobhan, do you have any update? or
I
Jeff
don't
on
have any
that?
information on that.
I will have to provide an update at closed session.
Oh, okay. Anything new on pools and hot tubs? Any pools going to go down for maintenance or winterization or anything people need to know about? Okay, nothing there?
I don't have anything to report at this point in time.
Okay. And is anything being talked about for holiday events such as Thanksgiving and Christmas?
Recreation is working out the final details. They'll publicize later this month.
Okay, thanks. Okay. Okay, onward to the Equestrian Center Ad Hoc Committee. Director McCary will be reporting on that.
Yes, thank you, President Parsons. The committee met yesterday, special meeting. The only agenda item had to do with rat abatement at the Equestrian Center. Apparently, the rats are plentiful and running around and causing a lot of concern for boarders. And so staff has gone out and gotten several quotes from vendors to do rat abatement, but they determined that those costs were just cost prohibitive. They range any place from $80,000 to $220,000. And so the committee decided that that was just too cost prohibitive. We did entertain some discussion about some other options, and the final decision was to use glue strips for the abatement. So that process is going to be implemented. They'll use the glue strips along with using some mesh for blocking off the entryway to the areas where the rats can get into the stables. They're going to move forward with this process, but first, Human Resources will provide proper training and apparently whatever protective equipment the staff will need in order to maintain and, for lack of a better word, empty the glue strips. So they're going to move forward with that as soon as training and equipment is available. They will also send out notification to all the boarders that they will be using this glue strip process for the rat abatement. That was basically the gist of the discussion. The next committee meeting will be November 4th at 1:00 p.m. as a virtual meeting.
Thank you very much.
I heard you got a lot of nay votes.
What?
Maybe a pipe might help.
No, I suggest they introduce their mascot as cats. Bring a lot of cats over there.
Okay, on to 15B, GRF Finance Committee, Director Muchnick.
Thank you, President Parsons. The committee last met on the 25th of August. Sageview provided an investment update regarding the portfolio for GRF. As of the 31st of July, GRF had $19,750,000 invested with Fidelity. Year-to-date, the investments have declined by $231,000. For the most recent quarter, the net return was 0.8%. Since September 30th, 2019, when the account was opened with Fidelity, the account value was actually up 3.22%. The starting balance in September of 2019 was $18,978,000, so there has been an overall increase of just over $600,000 since inception. Interest rates are very low, so returns going forward, excuse me, thank you. Returns going forward will likely be below 1%. The account is dominated by three funds: the Fidelity Short-Term Treasury Bond Index, the Fidelity Intermediate Treasury Bond Index Fund, and the Vanguard-backed Securities Index Admiral shares. These three funds make up 78% of the investments for GRF. The GRF Finance Committee also voted to support a staff recommendation to increase the broadband service fees by 5% and recommended it to the full board. The full board has since passed and approved that 5% fee. The fee for Showtime would go up by 10%, and the cable card fee would actually decrease by 45% from $95 down to $52.25. That was again passed by the full GRF board. The committee also discussed a proposed fee schedule amendment for recreation-related services. The request is for an annual increase up to 3% for fiscal years 2023, 2024, and 2025. If implemented, it is expected that $92,000 in additional revenue will be generated for 2023. The next meeting of the GRF Finance Committee is Wednesday, October 20th at 1:30.
Thank you very much. On to GRF Landscape Committee, Director Jarrett.
Okay, after a report from a resident complaining that mowing on the slopes of the creek starts too early, Mr. Wyman stated that the mowing work is started about 7:30 to 8 o'clock. And the mowing is rotated from where it is started each week, so that it gives those members a break on the starting time. It's just hard to control. We can't have landscape people coming in later in the day to mow. Actually, this meeting, though, was all about vector control, primarily to do with the control of mosquitoes around the creek. They really do a good job of watching the mosquito population, the types, and et cetera. Mosquito trapping is conducted weekly at the creek, and traps are checked every 16 days, where they catch about 30 in that time period. There has been no human case of West Nile in Laguna Woods Village, at least in the last 5 years. Vector gets several calls on a regular basis from residents of the village. This past year, the GRF Landscape Committee approved 3 clearings per year, including one in November, the clearings of the creek. The entire cost of recent cleanings of the creek is about $37,000 per cleaning. Pretty expensive, but necessary. On another subject, one member did complain about the dead plants around Clubhouse 5. It was noted that during the pandemic, there were no recreation employees at the clubhouse, so watering didn't get done. They're in the midst of replacing all the dead plants, and now they do have employees on staff that can water the plants. The next meeting is November the 10th at 1:30 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On to GRF Maintenance Construction Committee, Director Frankel.
The primary discussion was involved with the EV charging stations. Our meeting was held on August 11th. Debbie Dotson provided a terrific presentation, basically on locations, proposed locations for the charging stations. The consensus was pretty much that we would like to see the charging stations go to the clubhouses, and we're waiting now on the Southern California Edison report and their information. And the next meeting is October 12th. October 13th, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. On to Clubhouse Facilities Renovation Ad Hoc Committee, Director Engdahl.
That had the Clubhouse 1 facilities renovation committee met last July, and it sort of has expanded to consider the use of all the clubhouses and try to coordinate together. So that has become like the main focus now, and probably be a change in the total scope until such time as that study results the results are available. Then we'll focus more on what Clubhouse 1 will actually do under in its renovation, what we'll do with actually do with it.
Okay, thank you very much.
One further comment.
Yes.
There's a meeting tomorrow for the Clubhouse Facilities Renovation and Ad Hoc Committee on Wednesday.
Okay, thank you very much. Media and Communications, Director McCary.
Thank you, President Parsons. The Media and Communications Committee met yesterday. It was a virtual meeting. I want to thank Director Jarrett for taking notes for me as I was not able to stay at the entire meeting. So, Eileen Pollan stated that the Broadband Group will meet next week. She also reported that GRF's funding has been approved, so they're going to move on with some of the projects, including the broadband report. Additionally, the website update, which was on future agenda, has been moved up, and they're going to be looking into that very soon. Focus groups will be formed to bring ideas forward. There was a bit of a discussion about the misinformation that is being printed on Nextdoor, especially in light of how harmful it is to the VMS company itself. People in faraway communities such as San Juan can see some negative posts from people in our community on Nextdoor. So there was a lot of discussion about that, and basically it was a discussion. There was also discussion on how we can better educate our residents, especially in governance, and in how to help them to identify exactly what mutual they live in. Many residents are still not clear on whether they live in in United or Third. So one really good suggestion was from one of the directors, Director Horton basically stated, it was Juanita Skillman, when people ask questions about what mutual they actually live in, one of the things we can say is, if you live in a co-op, you live in United, and if you live in a condo, you live in Third. But there's also, we're going to be publishing some more information just on how to educate residents so they can clearly identify what mutual they live in. She also mentioned that they're working on, and it's almost complete, the resident handbook. Paul Ortiz gave a report on broadband services. He reported that non-assessment revenue is down. That includes ads, some commercials, some ads on the message board, and etc. He also reported that they are down 2 employees, but are completing their work in completing calls in about 3 days. It won't be long before NBC terminates its contract with most of their channels, and most of the channels will move to USA. Sport programming is very expensive and will go away in the short term. Starting today, September 21, the 800 channels will now be shown on the 500s. He also reported that we can expect assessment annual increases will go up $5 per man or per month for the next 5 years. The next meeting will be October 18th, 2021 at 1:30 p.m., and it will be a virtual meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. Mobility and Vehicles Committee, Director Karimi.
The committee met on July 28th, which I reported in the past. Next meeting is October 6th at 1:30 p.m.
Okay, Security and Community Access Committee, Director Bada.
Thank you, President Parsons.
Is your mic on?
It's on.
Okay.
Security and Community Access Committee meeting was held on August 30th, 2021. There are some highlights over here. RV Lot A is almost full, but vacant slots are 9. RV Lot B also almost full, vacant slots are 6. Among other items reported in the month of July 2021, these were important. Injury falls in the common area was 17. In the manor were also 17. So please be mindful where you go, take your cane, and take care of yourself. Falling is not a good idea. Deaths at the village were 27, but cause of death is unknown due to privacy reasons. It's a good big number. The Great Shakeout earthquake drill is on October 21st. Please be on the lookout for more information and how to participate. So that's coming up. The Disaster Preparedness Task Force office is on the first floor in the VMS building. Hours are Monday to Friday, 10 to 12 noon. If you wish to get any emergency kits, please check them out. Lastly, I'd like to mention the security patrolling on the street are out there and ready to catch and issue tickets. So be careful how you drive. Be mindful of your speed and stop at stop signs. This will be duly helpful. It is protecting your wallet and the pedestrians walking around, so it will help everybody. Okay? So be mindful what you do. All right, the next meeting of the Security and Community Access Committee is on October 25th, 2021 at 1:30 p.m.
Thank you very much.
You're
On to
welcome.
Disaster Preparedness Task Force. Director McCary?
Thank you, President Parsons. In addition to what Director Bada has already reported on, I just want to remind everybody, because our next meeting is not until September 28th, but just to reiterate the 2021 Great California Shakeout Drill. This year's Great California Shakeout Drill, which is the annual statewide drill designed to give residents an opportunity to practice preparedness for and safety during a large earthquake. It is scheduled to begin at 10:21 a.m. on Thursday, October 21st. The Security Department and Disaster Preparedness Task Force encourages all village residents to participate in this drill and, number one, identify where they would drop, cover, and hold on in the event of an earthquake, and also to inventory their personal emergency supplies and update their emergency contact information with family and friends. Again, this is scheduled for October 21st, and there was a nice reminder about this in last Friday's e-blast with a lot more information on what else we can do to protect ourselves and be prepared in case of a major earthquake.
Will there be signs out at the gates announcing that also? Like there's been in the past?
I'm not quite sure. That wasn't discussed. We can find out, and if there are, there'll be big old huge signs out there. Do you know anything about that, Shaban? Okay.
Unfortunately, I don't.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's move on to report of Laguna Woods Village traffic hearings. Director Frankel.
Our meeting was held on the 15th of September. There were 3 violations, all of which were stop sign violations, and one was a no-show and was found guilty, and the one that did show, and one paid their fine, and the other was found guilty. And all the fines, by the way, for stop signs are $50. And the next meeting is on October 20th. While I'm on the subject of stop signs, we had a resident, this was a virtual meeting, and one resident came up and tried to make the case for a stop sign installation. And as chair of that committee, I recommended that they contact the Security and Community Access Committee, GRF, for the stop sign, so we didn't address that issue.
That's good. Thank you very much. GRF Strategic Planning Ad Hoc Committee, Director Muchnick.
Thank you. The committee last met on the 28th of June. It's my understanding that a new chairperson has been appointed for this committee, but I've not seen any official announcement to this end. So that's just what I've heard, but I don't know. Hopefully, if there is a new chairperson, that person will be calling a meeting of this committee in the near future. So other than that, I have nothing else to report.
Okay, on to the Trash Task Force, Director Karimi and Director Wayne.
Well, I just was assigned to this, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Now, after Mr. Craig Wayne done a great job at
Okay,
it, I
Director
think he
Wayne.
passed it on to me to be the sanitary man.
Yes, I'm in charge of trash.
No,
But
I am now.
They have not had a meeting, and we don't have a date for the new meeting yet, do we?
That's correct.
Okay, so when that meeting occurs, I'll be wonderful to bring you back a bunch of information on that.
Okay, great. It has a lot of effect on us, on how we're going to accommodate the new rules from the state. So we're looking forward to hearing more back. Okay, on to item 16.
Mr. President
Go ahead.
Parson, so what's my name there? Why am I?
You're the alternate, I believe, on that.
Oh, okay, you didn't say that.
Okay.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
We're just seeing if you were staying awake here.
Oh, okay, thank you.
You don't qualify as the number one trash guy.
I always yield to you.
Okay, on to item 16, future agenda items. Things here, more information will be given to you down the road. And are there any that we need to add to this? I have not heard of any, but, okay. We'll start around with director's comments, and we'll start with Director Wayne. Any comments?
Okay, one thing that I would like to bring to your attention is that if you are going to go and get your third shot, Walgreens has the Pfizer shots. They do not have the Moderna shots. CVS has the Moderna shots. They don't have the Pfizer shots. So depending upon which shot you received, if you received the ones that we had here, that would be the Moderna, and that would be CVS.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay?
No comment, thank you.
Okay, Lynn?
I would like to make a further comment on what Jules brought to the table here today. He questioned the integrity of the entire board, and I want to say that I want to recall back several years ago, up until the last 5 or 6 years, I remember I used to come to the board meetings before I was ever on the board, and I know for a fact that board members created the questions that were given to the candidates. And if this is not something new, they've never, as far as I remember, ever brought in anybody else or took questions from outside in the last 5 or 6 years for the candidates forum. But I just really am very disappointed that he questioned the integrity of this board, because I really am proud to serve on this board, and I felt really that we didn't need to be degraded like that. So I wish now that I hadn't even brought those tools in, my tools that I brought. But I really know now that if when I mentioned to Annie that I was bringing something in for props, if she would have, if I would have told her what it was, she probably would have retrieved that question, that was brought to the table. So I'm really sorry that that all happened, but I just want to say that I'm proud to be on this board, because the integrity of this is the people on this board, the members of this board. There's no question the integrity of this board. So I just want to say I'm sorry that something like this had to come up today. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn, for your comments. Okay, Annie?
Just plugging in on what Director Jarrett has said, in terms of the integrity of this board, we are humans to all of the residents that live in this community, and I know you know that. And we treat each other as human beings. We treat each other with respect. We treat each other with dignity. And we always try and maintain that high standard when we're in committee meetings, when we're in discussions about everything, and we bring that commitment to our service to this board. So I'm really proud to be on the board. I'm really proud to serve with all of the directors, and whomever gets elected next time, I promise that I will continue the same level of commitment, the same level of humanity and respect that we give to everybody else. So I want to thank Director Jarrett and Director Creamy, and whoever gets on the board, whether it's them or whomever, we welcome the opportunity to do some education with all of us, so that we know that we serve this community as one voice, not as one individual board member. Thank you.
Robert?
Wow. I'll pass, thank you.
Okay, John?
I found the comments by one of the residents who spoke here earlier to be very sad, and I'm sorry about that, and I apologize for him.
Okay, Reza?
I said my piece before, so thank you. No comments.
Kush?
None today, thank you.
Okay, let's go around. Jeff, do you have any comments?
Just want to thank the board for this last year. A lot of work, a lot of heavy carrying, and I appreciate your cooperation with VMS.
Thank you. Siobhan?
Just a quick update on that occupancy agreement. It has been approved, and the residents were meeting with community services after this meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. Grant, any closing comments?
Which one?
No, no additional comments. However, there was a resident who wanted to drop off a follow-up to their open forum comments, so I'll make sure that you get that as well.
Okay, pass it along to us, then we'll answer that. Okay, thanks to everyone. Appreciate all your support, and it's been a good year. Keep up the good work, and we have our election coming up. Results of that counting on the 1st of October. On the 7th of October, we have our annual meeting. So please be in attendance for both of those events. Yes, Kush.
I'd like you to mention when the last day to vote is, please.
Okay, we actually talked about that, I think, earlier.
September 30th.
The September 30th, yeah. And if you need a ballot, we gave out the
Yes, but
information on that.
This is just a second reminder that
Yeah.
people should vote and not play possum on that. Your vote is very important that we get it out. So make sure, don't throw that thing away. Get out and vote. There are ballot boxes right outside the VMS building in the front. Thank you.
Okay. At this time, I have no other comments, I believe. And unless there's any objection, we'll go ahead and recess and move upstairs for the closed session. Okay, we're in recess.